Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 9, Monday Night Football, Draftkings Showdown between the Bears and the Steelers. Not really a high scoring game. The total in this one is 39. The Steelers are favored by 6.5. I'm going to go through and I'm going to talk you through how I go about building lineups. We'll talk about some of the particulars about the Bears and the Steelers and how we can look to attack this, as well as learn to correlate our lineups the right way, especially if you are using the Fantasy Labs lineup builder. There is a link down below in the pinned comment if you wanted to get a discounted subscription to Fantasy Labs, whether it's an NFL only subscription for the rest of the season, or if you want to get the combo subscription to have access to their NBA and NFL lineup builder. And typically I use the establish the run projections, which get loaded into that. So if you have or want ETR, smizzle.tv/ETR. I will be going over the entire, what's the right word for it? Stupid Sunday night or Sunday week 9 slate, the main slate, which was just one of the most odd slates of the year. Tomorrow morning on Twitch, twitch.tv/Al_smizzle. And I'll be uploading the recap video to the second channel here on YouTube, Al Smizzle Games, if you wanted to check out how my best buys column did, how my high stakes lineup, my 150 lineups did, as well as the top 10 finishers in the Smiz Gang Listener League. We go over all of it tomorrow. It'll be on the second channel, or if you wanted to watch it live and come join us for the wheel spins and subscriber giveaways and everything else, that's on Twitch. So without any further ado, let's just get to the Monday Night Football game. Let's go.
He's a legend.
Okay, so taking a look at this game, like I said, it is not a high totaled game. The Bears have been really bad at, holding on to the football, but there's been some glimpses, I suppose, from Justin Fields the last couple of weeks, like 18 rush attempts. That is something that I think we can't take very lightly, right? This is a player whose rushing floor should be permanent for him for his entire career, but it hasn't been since he's been given the job. They're just not designing any runs for him. Like, he had 10 rushes last game against San Francisco. One of them was just a complete, the one that's been highlighted everywhere. He ran to the right, had like 8 Niners after him, and then he scooted to the left and scored a touchdown, but only 2 designed runs. So they're not doing anything to help Justin Fields as a fantasy player, for us, I guess, to have that sort of a floor, something like they do with Lamar Jackson, something like they do with Hurts on Philadelphia. Teams that have these running quarterbacks are doing what they can to keep linebackers and safeties with their heels planted in the ground, so that when they put the ball in the belly of that running back, they can't just charge, right? The Bears clearly not doing that, not utilizing Fields to the best visibilities, but he made the most of it last week with a 29.3 point fantasy day. Now, he is the type of quarterback who could be an absolute showdown breaker, but in this situation with a team total of 16.75, he's really going to have to go out of his way and at least score 1 on the ground. I'm not expecting to break the 100-yard bonus, but 60 rushing yards should be normal from a player like Justin Fields, at least until he gets his feet under him and has some sort of efficiency in the passing game, something that he has lacked so far this year. I don't believe that they're deploying him the right way, and I also don't think that he has looked fantastic when given the opportunity. Now, let's take a look at who he targets, right? So this is the total targets on the year for Chicago. This includes when Dalton was the starter as well. So Mooney with 23.8%, Robinson with 21.4%, Kmet, Marquise Goodwin. It's really these 3 dudes right here that get the vast majority of the targets. And then when they get into the red zone, Kmet and Robinson kind of take over because Mooney is a smaller bodied player. But looking at who he's targeted on the entire targets, you see their total targets here, 50 and 45. With Fields at QB, Mooney has 42 targets, Robinson has 33 targets, Kmet has 29 targets. So it's very similar. Mooney does take advantage of Fields' ability to push the ball downfield through the air, something that Dalton was unwilling to do, or they were not calling the plays for him to be able to do that. And so Mooney was really floundering. Now Mooney is more, I wouldn't say flourishing, because nobody can really flourish in an offense that only throws it 20 to 25 times a game. Hopefully this is a situation where Pittsburgh can play from ahead a little bit, and then we have Justin Fields. If you're going to be building Justin Fields at captain lineups, again, it is single game showdown. If you don't want to double stack him, that's fine. I'm still going to use 2 pass catchers with him, at least in terms of this lineup building show. So I'm going to stack every single person that can be involved in the passing game in this spot. So Komet, we talked about the big 3. Jesse James has seen a touchdown, and then just a bunch of right, like just a bunch of nothing, right? So make sure that you have 1 to 2 of these guys in every single lineup where you have Fields at captain. And then looking at the running backs for Chicago, this is also kind of important. It's a complete mash unit at running back. So you've got Monty, who could be back, right? Coach Nagy said there is a very good chance that Montgomery, who is designated to return, meaning they had 21 days to bring him back, will play Monday night against the Steelers. If he does not play, right? So like if he does play, then it creates sort of a logjam where Monty and the rookie Herbert are going to be kind of splitting, right? And it's terrible for us because they're priced exactly the same. So now we're going to be forced to choose one or the other, and neither is priced like a backup. They're both basically just priced like the starter because DraftKings did a good job of pricing them, so you can't just play both and get 100% of the running back touches. But the other running backs in the team are all like hurt or out. Cohen out, Williams out. I mean, I guess Ryan Nall will be at, but like we're not playing Ryan Nall. So it comes down to one of Herbert or Montgomery. And I don't know which one you want, because Montgomery has been the man when he has been healthy. He has been very good, like legitimately a good player. Now, this is going to be a situation where we're playing from behind, but he has proven last year down the stretch that he's good enough in the passing game as well. But also Herbert's looked pretty darned electric every single time he's touched the ball. So this is a gross either or situation for us as fantasy players. If Herbert's the only guy and they don't activate Monty for the Monday night game, that would be better for us in terms of building lineups because there's only one spot to go. Now you're going to have to flip a coin and figure out which way you want, and we're not going to have any indication of how many snaps. I would assume if both are playing, it's 60% Monty, 40% Herbert. But I would prefer it's Monty sitting out one more week and then Herbert coming in. Taking a look at the other side for Pittsburgh. Well, before I do that, the Bears defense like has this reputation of being a very good defense, and I think they can be when healthy, but they haven't been great the last 3 games. And you've got Mac, who is out injured, and all the things that are wrong with this defense at this point. Like, we're talking about the last 3 quarterbacks that they faced have had top 10 weeks in fantasy against them. So the Bears defense can kind of be had here, and it seems like a soft landing spot for a couple of players. Ben Roethlisberger at 15.9. If you're playing Ben Roethlisberger at your captain, okay, same rule that we set. I am going to include Najee Harris, and I'll show you why here. Look, it's basically Deontay Johnson with 24%, Najee Harris at 18%, Chase Claypool at 18%. And then we have this situation where if Ebron's out, the Muth has played last week in the absence of Eric Ebron, played 78% of the snaps, ran 67.6% of routes per dropback, which means that he's running routes more often than he's pass blocking, which is what we want, right? You can't get receptions when you're stuck in blocking. And he was targeted on 28% of those routes. So a good tight end prospect and can play. Somebody who can make a difference and ended up catching a touchdown in the game. Got 7 targets each of the last 2 games. This could be a guy who's waiting to break out. So the first thing that we're doing is we're going to stack basically all of the pass catching options as well as the kicker, and then pick the other guys as well, because you can get in on some low percentage guys. Just tie them to Roethlisberger, at least 2 of them in every lineup. You're going to build that bring back group as well, where you're going to use everybody on Chicago, every offensive player, not defense, not kicker as well. But I think that your primary captains on this slate are twofold. One, the cover boy, Najee Harris, who is basically out there. He's getting service this year as a rookie, very similar, but not the same in the passing game to what Christian McCaffrey got pre-2020, where, he was not injured. He was basically healthy. An expectation of 25 touches pretty much every single week. Loads of usage in the passing game, albeit it fluctuates from week to week, right? Like 7, 5, 7. I'd love to see it just kind of sit here, but then we get a 3 and we get a 19 back against Cincinnati. If he was just to sit between 5 and 7 targets a game, that's massive usage in the passing game. And 1 target equals 2.8 carries in terms of expected fantasy points on DraftKings. But he's also getting fed on the ground and getting all of the inside the 5 work, a true 5-box running back every single week, and definitely in this spot. Touchdowns in 4 straight games for him. He's going to be your optimal captain more often than not, and should be. But I think that we also have to look at DIONTAE Johnson, who basically every game but one this year, and this was somewhat predictable and something that we spotted all offseason. We were targeting DIONTAE Johnson in best ball drafts and in season-long drafts because he was way too predictably going to get double-digit targets more often than not. And he's getting a lot more downfield usage. It's not just those inside 10-yard A-dot throws. A 50-yard touchdown in week 8, a 50-yard touchdown in week 5, 45 in week 4, 41 in week 2. Like, he is a downfield threat, but also being peppered with targets. So big splash ability as well as a really high floor. And the way that DraftKings is scored, it's entirely possible that DIONTAE Johnson becomes your optimal captain. And if you're going to have Johnson as your captain, I would suggest making sure that Ben Roethlisberger is also in 100% of those lineups. Same thing goes for Chase Claypool, who played more snaps last week in the absence of Juju Smith-Schuster than he's ever played before in his career. Only got 5 targets, but was also mixed in the running game. We know what his big playability is, and when they get close to the goal line, it's basically him and Freiermuth who are the 2 big-time targets as they get down low. So if you wanted to leverage off of the projectable percentage, and I would say that it's probably going to be something along the lines of 40%, like Camaro was on Monday Night Football a few weeks ago, where he was the clear-cut guy that is probably going to end the night as the optimal captain in the lineup. If you're building multiple lineups, whether you're building for 3 max, 20 max, or 150 max like me, or if you're playing, in the big dog, or if you're playing in the mini max as well, capping Harris's projection in the lineup builder on Fantasy Labs or wherever builder you use is going to be important to make sure that you get probably more than the field is going to have of Johnson or Claypool at the captain spot, because in case something happens to Harris, or if he just puts up like a 15-16 point fantasy day and one of Johnson or Claypool gets a 2 touchdown day and they're the optimal captain, you want to overweight the field on them. Let's go over to Fantasy Labs. I've already got my template already loaded in here. You can see I have a template saved for this as I show it to you guys every single week. Using 90% of the cap, I'm not allowing a kicker or a defense at captain. If that wins, then you know what? I'm just not going to win. It typically does not win. That's why I disallow it. I limit to at most 1 defense and kicker, but I may open that up to 2, but only if the Steelers defense is in that, as the Bears with Fields have turned the ball over a lot, and because they're just dropping him back 3, 5, 7 step drops all the time instead of like designing runs and rolling him out and moving the pocket and doing what, a smart coach would do when they have a young quarterback who is extremely mobile. He's ending up taking a lot of sacks, fumbling a lot, and throwing a lot of interceptions. Pair your captain QB with at least 2 of the wide receiver, tight end, and kicker from the same team. Pair your captain quarterback with at least 1 quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end from the opponent, not the defense or kicker. Pair a captain wide receiver with the quarterback. Pair the tight end with the quarterback and limit to at most 1 defense and kicker. You could change this to 2 if you want, and then build rules that say only the Steelers defense can you build a rule that says exclude these 3 things from not being in there, but only the Steelers defense can be there. Kind of like when we limit tight end in flex to just like Kelsey or something along those lines. So we're going to head over here to the player groups, and we're going to make sure that we build a group where at least one, and put like a group of like 4 or 5 or 6 players that project for under 20 or 25% in the tournament, to make sure that you sprinkle at least one of them in there, because you're going to split. It's the way that it's going to go whenever you're playing Showdown, right? But like, we'd much rather cross the finish line if you're going to split with like 5, 10 people as opposed to like 15 to 100 people. That's not what we want. We don't want 500 people sharing and then you win like $1,000. If you win it, you want to come down with a major percent of the player pool. Those are the general rules. Those are the other rules that I build. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you guys for watching. Look out for another video right there. He's a legend.